At 10:26 a.m., a Ukrainian Luty drone zipped over the Sea of Azov, targeting a crucial Russian Il-38N aircraft, their only asset in the Black Sea, that could spot new weapons. Satellite images showed crews prepping it for takeoff by 1 p.m. Russia had to act fast. By 10:31, the Luty was closing in. The drone zipped just 50 meters above the choppy winter waves, with 280 kilometers of sea ahead. At 220 kilometers per hour, it would take 76 minutes of total silence. Its design scattered radar signals everywhere but back to Russian stations. Thanks to the Earth's curve playing its tricky game, the drone was cruising low, totally off Russia's radar for over an hour, but at 11:47, it hit land near Prosko-Atars, just 70 kilometers from Yak, with only 19 minutes to go. Then, boom! Silence broke as it crossed the coastline. Check out that cellular tower. In Stuturovskaya, there's this cool gray cylinder that looks like a thermos. It's got for microphones and smart tech inside. This is Russia's answer to sneaky drones. You might not see them, but you can definitely hear them. Meet the Luty's turbojet. It's definitely not quiet. The engine roars at 85 decibels from 100 meters away, just like a motorcycle zooming by. The compressor blades create a high-pitched whistle between 4,000 and 8,000 Hz, while the combustion adds a deeper rumble around 100 to 500 Hz. On a chilly December day, that sound travels far since cold air carries it better. The MiG caught it first at 11:47, hitting 53 decibels, about as loud as your buddy's sneaky break room fart. Russia had set up super-sensitive microphones to catch Steve from accounting in the act. The algorithm worked fast, breaking down the sounds like separating a chord into notes. It matched the unique sound patterns, picking up the whine of compressor blades and the rumble of combustion. Turbojets and propellers are different, right? The UAV nailed the classification in just 1.3 seconds, with an 87% confidence level at a bearing of 245. One microphone gives direction, but not distance, so it's like hearing someone shout from the east, but not knowing if they're in your yard or down the block. Russia has over 100 sensors along the Krasnodar coast, spaced 3 to 5 kilometers apart. In just 8 seconds, 3 more microphones chimed in with bearings of 248, 251, and 243. The fusion algorithm calculated where the lines cross basic trigonometry, but super fast. A track popped up, hostile UAV 3, accurate to 50 meters and updating every few seconds. The Luty didn't care about the details. The drone had no acoustic warning system since it's not a thing for this size. All systems were normal, and target coordinates were locked. The move felt like tracking a ghost that didn't even know it was gone. 67 kilometers to Y. Just 18 minutes left. Time was tight. The microphones picked up the loot moving across Snowder, but shooting it down needed different firepower. At 11:52, the track data hit a TO or MM to battery. 18 kilometers southeast, well within range. The Luty was in serious trouble with 8 missiles ready to go, and radar tracking 48 targets at once. The battery commander had precise coordinates and aimed his radar, but the sky was empty. Even with the ability to track a bird from 25 kilometers away, he couldn't find anything. The issue: the radar needed to tilt slightly up to spot the target. Radar needs to aim at least 1.5 above the horizon to avoid ground reflections messing up the signals. It was built for aircraft and helicopters flying high, not drones at just 30 meters at 18 kilometers. A drone at 30 meters barely registers, making it hard for the radar to differentiate between real targets and false echoes. The drone was buried in clutter. The commander quickly calculated that for his radar to spot a target at 30 meters, it had to be within 1.2 kilometers at 180 kilometers per hour. The Luty would pass through that zone in just 24 seconds. He had one shot if the drone flew straight at him, but it wasn't. It was heading northeast and getting closer. The geometry wasn't getting any better. The track was for kilometers north and never hit the radar's sweet spot. At 11:55, the acoustic network showed it at 12 kilometers, moving northeast at 175 kilometers per hour. By 11:57, it slipped behind the engagement zone and was heading away. This one flew under the radar. Literally. 47 kilometers to Y, 12 minutes to impact. The Luty had slipped past the acoustic network through terrain masking and the Torah through geometry and physics. But something else had been hunting it since before it crossed the coast. Something that didn't care about elevation angles or radar horizons. 40 kilometers to the west, that weapon music was already airborne. The Giron launched from a position near Timok at 10:50. 3 minutes after the Luty took off, Russian standing orders kept. Armed interceptors orbiting whenever satellite warning indicated Ukrainian launch activity. A Ludi leaving a Zaporizhzhia runway triggered the alert. The Garin was airborne before the Ukrainian drone reached the coast. But this wasn't a normal Garin. If you look here at the top of the fuselage where the delta wing meets the engine housing, you'll see something that doesn't belong on an attack drone. A 9K333 Verba missile in a modified launcher tube, held by aluminum brackets bolted to the airframe. Russia had turned a one-way attack drone into an airborne SAM platform. It was the drone equivalent of duct taping a shotgun to a lawnmower. Ugly, improvised, and just stupid enough to work. The Guarante is an Iranian design built under Russian license. The shared 136 with Cyrillic stencils. Delta wing. Pusher propeller for cylinder piston engine producing 50 horsepower. Cruise speed 185 kilometers per hour. Normal endurance for plus hours. The armed variant is different. The Verba system adds 12 kilograms. That extra weight cuts loiter time to 90 minutes. And if you look here at the mounting hardware, you'll see the black boxes near the launcher tube. These are servo motors. One controls the protective cover over the missile seeker. The other actuates the firing trigger. Cables run into the fuselage taped to the skin. This means the operator doesn't fire with a simple button press. He sends commands through a mesh network, a radio system, where signals hop between relay drones and ground stations. Each node passing data to the next until it reaches the drone. First command, open the cover. Second, align the drone. Third, fire. By 11:47, when the Ludi made landfall, it had been airborne for roughly 60 minutes. 30 minutes of fuel remaining, one missile, one target hiding a 400-meter acoustic blur. The Garin received acoustic track data. Hostile UAV-3 bearing 095, range 38 kilometers, heading northeast. The operator adjusted course eastward, descending to 600 meters and began searching. 47 kilometers to Y. 15 minutes of fuel remaining. The clock was running for both sides now. But finding a drone at 30 meters altitude in an irrigation canal isn't like finding an aircraft against open sky. The Verba seeker needs contrast. Hot target against cold background. Against the sky, a 400 exhaust contrasts with -15 air. Easy acquisition at 6 kilometers. Against the ground, everything changes. Frozen farmland at -3. Plowed fields warming to +5. A complex thermal tapestry that all three seeker channels must somehow distinguish from the target. The operator searched for 6 minutes. His camera showed frozen fields, bare trees, the dark line of a canal. The acoustic network said the target was somewhere in a 400-meter ellipse, but somewhere isn't a firing solution. 12 minutes of fuel. The canal ended ahead. The Ludi would have to climb. When it climbed, everything would change. At 11:59, the canal ended. Open farmland rose toward the northeast. No terrain to hide behind. The LUT's profile called for minimal exposure. Stay low. Stay fast. Never silhouette against the sky for more than seconds. The Skynote S identified farm buildings to kilometers ahead. Metal roofs, thermal clutter. If the drone reached those buildings before climbing, the background might mask its signature. It almost worked. At 12:07, a ridge line blocked the path. No route around. The drone pulled up to 80 meters, crossed the ridge, and dove for the far side. 3 seconds. Exhaust silhouetted against gray December sky. The Garin's camera caught it perfectly. Brilliant, moving fast, unmistakably hot. The operator's hands moved. First command opened the launch cover. The servo motor actuated, protective cap swinging clear. The tri-channel seeker began scanning. Second command aligned. The Garin banked, pointing its spine toward the target bearing. The seeker found the exhaust immediately. Ultraviolet strong. Infrared strong. Mid-infrared strong. All three matched an engine profile. Not a flare, not a thermal reflection. A real target. Third command fire. The solid fuel motor ignited. 20 Gs of acceleration. The Garin shuddered as the missile left the airframe. The operator fought to stabilize as it screamed toward its target. Range at launch 7.2 kilometers. Closure rate 850 meters per second. Time to intercept 11 seconds, maybe less because of this feature. The Verba uses proportional navigation. The missile doesn't chase the target. It flies to where the target will be, constantly adjusting angle to cut off escape. Simple geometry, extremely difficult to defeat without countermeasures. The Ludi had none. No chaff, no flares, no jamming. The drone was built for range and payload, not survivability. But it had something else. The moment the Ludi crested the ridge, the Skynote S executed the next waypoint. Nose down, throttle idle, diver terrain on the far side, a stream bed that would provide acoustic shadow for the next leg. The drone wasn't evading the missile. It didn't know the missile existed. Pre-programmed terrain masking. Coincidence, but a very effective coincidence. The seeker held its lock. All 3 channels tracked the descending exhaust. Guidance commanded a dive to match, but now the missile was flying toward the ground at 600 meters per second. The magnetic proximity fuse is designed to detonate near metal structures. But that sensitivity creates problems near terrain. Frozen ground, buried pipes, iron-rich soil. All of these are generating faint magnetic signatures the fuse had to distinguish from valid targets. 9 seconds after launch, missile at 30 meters, still descending. Seeker still locked. 11 seconds, missile at 18 meters. Ludi at 25 meters. Pulling out of its dive. The fuse triggered, not on the drone, on an abandoned tractor in the stream bed. The 1.5 kilograms warhead detonated on frozen earth. Fragments scattered across the field. The Ludi 40 meters ahead and climbing shuddered from the shock wave. No damage. The operator watched the explosion. Wrong position. Wrong angle. No debris trail. Miss. His only missile. 9 minutes of fuel remaining. The target was gone. In Krasnodar, the operator stared at his screen. 11 months of intercepts. And this was his first miss. Someone would want an explanation. He didn't have one. He chose pursuit. Throttle forward. Camera tracking. The Garen couldn't catch the Ludi. It was 35 km/h too slow, but it could relay position to base defense. 26 kilometers to yank. The Ludi had survived acoustic detection through terrain masking and survived the Verba through luck and programming. Ahead lay the hardest part, finding one specific aircraft among dozens with an AI that had never seen this target from this angle. The Ludi had to find the Il-38N. Ignore the standard Il-38 parked 80 meters away. Hit precisely enough that the airburst warhead destroyed the sensor section, not just damaged the airframe. If you look here at the 2 aircraft, you'll see why this is difficult. Both have turboprop engines. Both have high-mounted wings. Both have long fuselages and similar gray paint. From 35 meters altitude at a slant angle, they're nearly identical. The difference is on top of the forward fuselage. The Il-38N carries the NV9 Alint pod, a boxy structure roughly 2 meters long, mounted on external struts above the cockpit. Alint stands for electronic intelligence. Pod contains passive receivers that intercept radar and radio emissions, classifying signals by frequency, pulse pattern, and origin. The standard Il-38 doesn't have it. That pod marked the target. Destroy the wrong aircraft and Russia loses an $8 million trainer. Destroy the right one and Russia loses its only Black Sea submarine hunter. The neural network running on Skynote S was trained for exactly this discrimination. Here's how it works. Ukrainian intelligence gathered thousands of images, satellite photos, reconnaissance footage, publicly available pictures, commercial aviation photography. Each image was labeled. This is an Il-38N. This is a standard Il-38. This is something else. The algorithm learned. It learned patterns, not strict rules. The Il-38N aircraft has a unique rectangular shape above the cockpit that standard models don't. During flight, the camera sends 30 frames per second to the processor, which extracts features like edges, shapes, shadows, and looks for engines. The aircraft scans for high-mounted wings and a unique nose profile, then locates the E-lint pod. It creates a bounding box around potential shapes, checking dimensions and aspect ratios against its training data. Final classification, Il-38N with 94% confidence at 1,000 to 115 to 8. The satellite link sent an encrypted burst strike authorized. 14 seconds to impact. At 12:15 and 12 seconds, the navigation computer spotted an obstacle not in its reference imagery, a ground power unit next to the target, extending for meters into the approach corridor. The AI recalibrated 3 to the right for a steeper descent, improving precision by 12 meters. By 12:15 and 19 seconds, the Il-38 filled the frame. NV9 pod visible with 97% confidence. The altimeter showed 6.1 meters above the Il-38N's upper fuselage. The warhead behind the Lutz fiberglass cone was designed for this. Conventional bombs just hit one spot, but that won't cut it on a 40 meters aircraft. The Ukrainian security service needed something way more effective. The airburst warhead has a central explosive charge surrounded by 2,000 steel cubes, each about 8 millimeters. A radar altimeter measures height, triggering the fuse at 6 meters. The explosion isn't just a blast, it's shaped to direct energy downward, sending those fragments flying. A focus cone zooming down at 1,800 meters per second crosses 6 meters in just 3.3 milliseconds. The impact area, about 4 meters wide with 40 hits per square meter, the aluminum aircraft's skin, totally no match. At 12 hours 15 minutes and 21 seconds, the warhead detonated, hitting just past the target area. Not a big deal, really. The NV-9 pod took a serious hit, hundreds of strikes. The housing was wrecked, antennas shredded, and the processing units were obliterated. The NV for mission computer, the brain of the operation that tracked 30 targets, was gone in just 3.3 milliseconds. Then, bam! A second impact smashed into the numbered engine, cutting oil lines and fuel. Lines ruptured, and just like that, the fire took over. The Il-38M didn't explode, it just stopped working. The radar was dead, signals were lost, and the aircraft was left completely low-bottomized. It was a total mess. Catch you later.